Picture this. You thought you were strong. You thought you didn't need it. And here you are still playing a gacha game almost a year later. Honestly, I can't fault Shift Up. They are extremely responsive to their audience, very generous to them, and open to all kinds of feedback from around the world. You know, that's how I am with Scouter, my second commercial video game that you can donate to on Patreon. Just throwing that out there, just so you know. But as the year singular goes by, it reminds me of my favorite Bond stories in the game. As optional content, Nikke lets you look at personalized stories with all of your Nikkes to understand them in a more personal way. Some stories are funny, some are sad, some are heartwarming, and some are cleverly written to keep the game at a T rating. Now, I don't have everyone I like here because milking content is a great way to keep things easier for me in the future, but I thought I'd highlight some favorites of mine. If you're curious, I did discuss 5 of them in my review for the game. I'd like to say, click at the top right corner, but I never see those links. Ever. So I'll put them in the description and remind you at the end. Also, I'm trying to get used to this new video editor, so this will be a great test run as I talk about these silly women whose asses jiggle in front of the camera. Expect a lot of experimentation as I talk about these Nikke's personal stories, starting with... As one of the few sleep maxers in the game, Frima is an incredibly lazy and extremely funny Nikke, right down to her speaking in single-word sentences. Her Bond story is also one that follows the beats of a certain fairy tale. Frima has a routine. She wakes up, does her job very quickly, gets her coffee, and goes back to sleep on her couch. This keeps repeating until one day she got her sleep mask on, she had her coffee that somehow makes her sleepy, I don't know why either, but can't fall asleep. Immediately worried about the disruption, her squad mates Milk and Sugar and the commander are brought to her attention after 3 days of insomnia. To make sure nothing is wrong, Pepper and Mary, the nurses, come by to examine Frima, who is literally so tired she can't move. They find out nothing is wrong with her physically. Mentally, however, they're worried. Nikke still have human components like brains, so even though Frima can live without sleep for days, it'll cause cognitive dissonance with her body and force a mind switch. Lore-wise, that's when you get a completely different personality after some kind of traumatic event. Obviously, this leads to Sugar aiming a gun with a tranquilizer round at Frima. After Pepper almost has a heart attack, Mary tells the squad and the commander to give it a day before forcing her to sleep at a repair center. The gang tries everything, singing horribly for her in Milk's case, grabbing coffee for her, grabbing coffee for her, grabbing coffee for her. Frima keeps demanding coffee, so the commander just asks how many she needs and she's unsure. So the commander has the idea to just put wheels on the sofa she's lying on and bring her to the cafe. It wasn't until Senti from Mighty Tools came along and noticed something. Frima's couch was misaligned by a very tiny amount, literally 3 millimeters. Senti fixes it, and Frima notices it and tries to go to sleep again. It works, and she's able to quell the thought of a mind switch. Oh, and Milk and Sugar are pissed, by the way. So afterwards, Sugar and Milk tell the commander that Frima is catching up on all the sleep she missed. Those two also apparently came by to yell at her and how she treated them. But the commander was a bit nicer about it, and Frima was really grateful for his help. She thanks him right before going to sleep again. Now, I'm sure you noticed that this fairy tale is The Princess and the Pea. Now, I'm not sure if this was just referenced because it would be funny, or if it was referenced to say that Frima is a kind and sensitive Nikke. Yeah, no, it was definitely because it was funny. Frima is a really funny Nikke, and her story just reinforces that. Oh, Yulha, you're a wacky workaholic. Do I sound like I'm a workaholic like her? I just have a full-time job and I do game dev with my second commercial project, Scouter, wherein I also study my shortcomings on the Godot engine and make videos here on YouTube, which include scripting, recording, and editing. I also draw all my thumbnails and I practice drawing on the side and, maybe I do have a problem. But that's one of the reasons why Yulha's story is very sweet. The commander wakes up after a very drunken night, his body covered in what looks like bite marks and reeking of alcohol. Rappy, Anise, and Neon, the counters, notice this immediately, and a very irritated Yulha is texting the commander for leaving her alone in the hotel room. I guess it's time to find out what happened. Yulha tells the commander to not remember anything in that night, but says he can't remember anything anyway, but some memories have been popping up here and there. She tells him to keep forgetting about it as she nervously shakes her leg. Later, Yulha's squad mate Admi tells the commander that Yulha and him are forced to work together for about a week. Yulha immediately asked if the commander pulled strings to make it happen, to which he said no. The commander, however, is quite competent and gets a lot of his work done, much better than Privity and Admi could. Papillon comes by and tells the commander to go away from Yulha, calling her a monster. That's okay, Yulha calls her a conniving bitch, so it evens out. The commander also defends Yulha greatly, which she doesn't show but does appreciate. Eventually, she and the commander start competing to get all the work they can done. Both of them are extremely tired, with dark circles under their eyes and everything. Eventually, everything is done. Yulha tells the commander to go to bed, but he refuses, and grabs Yulha to get her away from her work. They go to a hotel room, in which it triggers the commander to remember everything that happened, making Yulha nervous. Yulha fell over at the hotel room and wanted to drink more, but the commander stopped her. He was going to put her in bed, but realized that Yulha is extremely heavy because she's a Nikke, so he rolls her up onto the bed. Yulha got really angry and shoved the commander onto the bed, suggesting that they share the pain. Yulha bites him all over, then passes out. Those shark teeth aren't just for show, and the commander pokes her a few times, and then he passes out and went home when he woke up before her. But Yulha in the present was freaking out, thinking they did something much more embarrassing as she shakes her leg, only to find out no, they didn't do anything risky. It also turns out that Yulha didn't remember what happened that night either. Well, Yulha being Yulha gets angry and says, "Why not make a move now?" She grabs the commander and kisses him and lets him do whatever he wants. So he does. So there's the T rating right there. Admi and Privity see both the commander and Yulha with extremely dark circles under their eyes. They went to bed, but damn did they not sleep. Yulha tells the two of them to get lost and then tells the commander to get back to his duties as a commander. Yulha refuses to accept any more help from him, but also gets blushing red saying that. She then tells the commander via text to meet her at a bar after she storms off, showing that she doesn't show it on the outside, but can be a sweetheart. Overall, a very fun story. Yulha definitely fits that anime stereotype tsundere, I think? I don't know, it's one of those. Not willing to show emotions on the outside, but she's really just put in a hell of a situation. Believe me, I've snapped before where I've had a large workload. Hell, I might do it now, because there's many more stories to talk about. I think this is gonna be it. This is when I'm gonna snap. I'm just gonna go like... Alice. She had a hard time. She's basically a child's brain in a Nikke, and boy does she act like it. Her story is told from her perspective and is very childlike. Alice finds that they've been shipped an order meant for the Ark library and finds a book that mentions that the Ark is an Elysium. Alice is shocked by this. She had no idea there was an Elysium. She asked Ludmilla and the commander, aka Rabbity, if there's any truth to it, only to get confused. The commander suggests taking her to the Ark for her to see for herself, so Ludmilla allows Alice to go. Alice thinks it's beautiful. They got candy made from clouds. They go to a shop called Cafe and get a drink made by the Cream Queen. Oh, that sounded better in text than actually saying that. She also goes to a bookstore and finds Alice in Wonderland, which Rabbity buys for her. At the end of the day, Poli is chasing a criminal and trips, and Rabbity goes after the criminal, only for a stranger to take advantage of Alice being alone and offering her candy in an alleyway. Alice follows the stranger, hoping to get some candy also for Rabbity. That stranger has 4 other girls with candy, but Alice remembers Rabbity said to never take candy from strangers. I did say that. I did say that. So she doesn't have it, but Alice gets bonked in the head with a plank of wood. Thinking it's a game, she tries to play along, only to realize she can't harm humans, so it's not a game. She gets knocked out cold and dreams of her before she was a Nikke, as a small girl in a hospital ready to become a Nikke to save her life. She says she wants to be Alice when she comes back. Miranda, Poli, and Rabbity all find Alice thanks to her Nikke signal with the rest of the women and save them from the man. Alice has to go to Mustang for repairs, but Rabbity is happy that she's safe, despite the blunt force trauma. Alice then gets chewed out from Mustang and Ludmilla for even following that stranger, but she calms down when she's with Rabbity, realizing that he's really her Elysium. She asks if she can go to bed while the commander holds her hand. He does so, and she has a peaceful dream about escaping that hospital. It's dark. This is a very dark story, but it's a damn good story. It really stuck out in my mind how innocent Alice really is, that she would even fall for stranger danger tactics like that. But it shows that her life wasn't all happiness before the Nikke conversion. She really didn't deserve what happened to her in the arc, but it helped her grow, I think. Jeez, I need something a little bit more uplifting after that one. This is a character I expected to just be bait. You know the kind I mean, where this was tailor-made for a specific kind of person. Turns out Poli is the only character in the entire police squad that's competent. Miranda is brain dead, and Query can't see a damn thing. But she has a lot of people calling her a dog. I don't mean a bitch or anything. I mean literally she likes head pats, has fluffy hair, and growls sometimes. I wonder if that means anything. This conundrum of Poli is what starts her story. Poli is investigating a cosplay club where it turns out they do gene splicing on humans and animals. Oh man, furries in the Nikke world, actually a fate worse than death. When raiding the location, it turns out nobody is there. However, Poli notices that she is able to decipher the notes left on the table instantly, without even thinking about it. She also got a nasty case of deja vu. She is freaking out and turns to the commander for help. The commander pets her to calm her down, until she issues a ban on petting her until she gets this figured out. She doesn't want to just get checked because it will confirm she's a Nikke and forbid her from the police force, as Nikkes are not allowed to be on the force. So they go back to the original raid location and Poli literally sniffs for clues and finds a button leading to an underground lab. That lab also gives her more deja vu. Before leaving, they find a dog collar with an Elysian insignia on the name tag saying Poli. Poli is freaking out! She asks the commander if he can talk to someone high up, but also not quite Ingrid's position of Elysian, to see if there's ever been animal testing for Nikkes. Maxwell from Missilis shows up and says that Elysian did experiments on animal brains for Nikkes, but the person was fired. Poli freaks out even more because there's just no limit to how freaked out she is about this. She decides to just ask Ingrid herself, and Ingrid said she had a dog named Poli, and it was kidnapped about a year ago, around the time Poli was turned into a Nikke. However, Poli doesn't remember how she died and decided to investigate further. After looking at some old news articles confirming that dog Poli existed, she talks to Emma, a member of Elysian's strongest squad. Emma mentions she was on a mission when she was told personally by Ingrid that the dog passed away, and she remembered there was a terrorist bombing with some kind of animal bomb. However, how did Ingrid know that the dog was the dead one when none of the articles beforehand said so? That's where Miranda contacts the two of them and tells them that there was an officer, presumed to be human Poli, who was trying to find dog Poli. Well, dog Poli was kidnapped by that fired Elysian employee, experimented on, and was fixed with a bomb in order to return to Ingrid to kill her. Poli, 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 Poli. She has a really funny name to say. Anyway, Poli triangulates where the former Elysian employee may be hiding out in Royal Road, the rich section of the Ark. Also, he just lives there, so it can't hurt to check. She performs a raid with Miranda. As Miranda successfully gets the animals, Poli gets the ex-employee wrapping up the case. Ingrid then personally congratulates Poli and tells her the reason she died since Poli forgot. Dog Poli blew up right in front of Ingrid, but human Poli jumped right in front of it to take the brunt of it, saving Ingrid's life. Ingrid said she'll turn human Poli into a Nikke to save her life and catch the criminal for doing this. Doing so, the Poli we all know and love was made. Poli is happy to wrap up the case and lifts her head pat ban for the commander. As the commander is petting Poli, he gets a text from Ingrid mentioning that Poli possibly does have some dog DNA mixed in. Oh. This is one of those classic mystery cases that has a fun character for the ride. Poli is a really fun Nikke and one of my favorites in terms of personality. She's definitely the top brass in her competency, deductive reasoning, and a big heart. Also, she's a dog. She's a dog. She's a dog. Poli's a dog. She's a dog. She's a dog! Yan is a saleswoman who absolutely isn't ashamed of it. She's very confident and very slippery. With how good she is at extorting money from people, you'd think she worked for the IRS. The commander, aka Rookie, becomes her first target in the story. She hears he's looking for a filing cabinet, only for him to get upsold to one that's much less dingy, to then get upsold again to a missiless automatic filing cabinet sorter going for a whopping 400,000 credits. To which, Yan decides to give Rookie a 20% discount, but only for today. Anise, Rappy, and Neon all yell at Rookie for spending so much on a filing cabinet. Those three think they're much smarter than Rookie and go to Yan's store themselves to get supplies, only to realize they're just as susceptible to Yan's trickery. Now the counters are in the red with money and need drain cleaner for a clogged sink. They decided to stay outside the store and demand Yan to get them exactly what they need. Yan, however, says she doesn't actually sell drain cleaners, and they are suckered into her VIP lounge to drink oolong tea, which is very hard to get in the Ark. Rookie wants to get the tea to make the counters happy. Yan's very evil business senses come up and strike a deal. Rookie works for her for a day, and they get some tea leaves out of it. Then the counters can sell half of what they have to also get themselves out of the red. Rookie accepts and starts tomorrow, though it seems like Yan wanted to do this the whole time. The next day, Rookie is thrown into the business with not much more than a good luck from Yan. His first customer is Vesti. She's getting ingredients for Emma to cook. Now usually Emma makes poison, but Vesti is trying to find something with Nutrium in it. Rookie first shows her a product with a very low amount of Nutrium, 0.9%, and then upsells her to one that's double the price, but 3% Nutrium instead. Vesti leaves with more than she thought she would, but got what she wanted. Frima then pops in and says she wants coffee and lays on the couch. But Rookie decides to make her budge by attaching wheels to the couch she's on and rolls her into the VIP lounge. Frima is amazed by the wheels. Rookie says it's 100,000 for each wheel, to which Frima says is expensive, but then he says getting all four would only be 200,000. Frima still says it's expensive. Then Rookie says he'll take 10% off, and finally Frima agrees, once again leaving with more than she should. Yan comes back, super impressed with Rookie, and has a great idea. She tells Rookie, "Let's go gaslight a rich blonde girl." Rupee, one of Yan's squad mates, does a live stream going through Yan's store to see if Rookie has what it takes to bankrupt her. The counters watch the stream in horror, seeing Rookie basically drain all of Rupee's money by showing her stuff she didn't know she wanted. When she actually has no money left and all the people on the stream are screaming to her to stop, Rookie and Yan let Rupee know that she can pay in installments, and she signs up for it. Yan and Rookie celebrate having made lots of money during those few days, and tells Rookie he's the first person she met that can match her business senses. Rookie, however, he says it's not enough. He pitches an idea to Yan for a business that, I'll go with the 1,000 credits one. Well, that business booms, and Yan and Rookie are making a lot of money off of it. This story is a fucking roller coaster. The commander basically gets ringed out of all of his money, and then gets it all back tenfold by playing off of what Yan does. Then, Yan and him have a small business that takes over the Ark like a storm. How the hell did the commander get that good? It's really funny. Yan herself is a sly fox, and it makes it even funnier to see how easily the commander was able to adapt to her methods. Oh man, what a wacky story. Hey, speaking of business, buy my game, buy my game, buy my game, support it on Patreon, support it on Patreon, support it on Patreon, support it on Patreon! Being the old grandma character is funny for Leader. Looks super young, is possibly 80 or 90 or something like that. She doesn't beat most of the pilgrims, but she definitely is the oldest manufactured Nikke that's still around. Leader has a very interesting story because her bond story isn't really about her, or at least not about her to a major focus. It centers around the counters themselves, specifically Anise. Leader notices the outpost is dirty as shit. She gets angry and tells the counters to clean up, so they clean a room. Then, Leader notices the bathroom is dirty, the kitchen is dirty, the outpost has exposed gas pipelines, the commander's room is dirty. Eventually, Anise is tired of it. She snaps at Leader and tells her to piss off. Leader then realizes that most of the messes were Anise's fault. So Anise and Leader fight with each other, basically pranking each other with dirty and clean spots. They get about even until it becomes them throwing stuff at each other. The commander steps in to stop them. Leader screams about Anise needing to have a fulfilling life, and Anise basically breaks down. Anise talks about how it doesn't matter. If you die, all of it goes away anyway. Classic nihilist Anise. Leader, however, tries to talk her down from it, but Anise isn't listening. It gets so heated that Anise actually gets knocked out with a punch. Days later, Rappy, Neon, and Greenhorn, which is Leader's pet name for the commander, are left with a depressed Anise and a depressed Leader. Greenhorn decides to look for Leader and see what they can do to make Anise and Leader see eye to eye. After humorously showing Leader cannot type, and Senti has to translate what it says, Greenhorn sets off to find Leader at the park. She's there with her dog Volt and mentions why it's important to leave a lasting legacy, pointing out to the buildings she's made in the Ark and their history. She says she's constantly preparing to die, to make it so that when she's gone, life will remember her in the most positive way possible. She also just wants to show Anise what it means to be living a meaningful life, and figures out a way to talk to Anise. Leader comes to Anise's room, the latter who hasn't budged at all. She tells Anise to look up a commander, Josh Humant. It says he died 15 years ago and nothing else. It's because he acted like Anise. He didn't clean up, lived in the moment, and rumors spread about him being a sexual abuser of Nikkes. But Leader was under his command and pointed out he was sweet, very caring, and an extremely effective commander who died trying to save a Nikke's life. But because he outwardly didn't reflect how he actually was, they didn't leave much on his gravestone. Anise starts to kind of understand after Leader calls her kind. She wants Anise to be remembered as best as she could whenever that time would come. Anise kind of realizes that it means cleaning up is a means of training her to think like that. So, her and Leader clean up the dorm, but obviously Anise is not 100% dead set on that mindset yet. Leader tells Greenhorn to keep an eye on her and help her with leaving a better mark on the world, to which he agrees. Leader's got quite the heavy story. It's definitely an elders telling the youngins what to do scenario, but geez, it hits hard. I hope I'm leaving a good mark on this world for you. Or not, I don't know. I probably pissed off a few people. Alright, on to the next. Elegg is a menace. I wasn't really sure I would like her, but she really grew on me from her events she's featured in and the topic of this video, her Bond story. For those of you that don't know, Elegg's whole gimmick is that she's a character who installs a game called Boom on every single device she can. Yes, she's the person that installs Doom on shit like pregnancy tests. Even her gun is the BFG 9000. But she's also quite confident in her abilities, and get this, she actually goes outside. I'm not too big on cave-dwelling gamer girls, so this is actually a welcome trait. With that, outside is how this story starts. Elegg decided to go see Mr. Commander, and every single place she stopped at, she installed Boom on a monitor. Coffee machine, train transit screen, calculator screen, you name it. Eventually, Mr. Commander finds her and finds out that she's technically on strike. Basically, Missilus swamped Elegg with so much work she just said, "I'm out of here!" and wanted to hang out with Mr. Commander and install Boom on even more things. So Mr. Commander agrees to hang out with her after she uninstalls Boom on all the devices she did on the way there. They eventually get to the observatory, and Mr. Commander asks if Elegg installed Boom on sensitive equipment. Elegg says no, as she has some limits, like hospital equipment and the Dome of Eternity. That's the Ark's fake sky, since the whole place is underground. So Mr. Commander decides to take her to places where she figures out how and where to install Boom onto. Mr. Commander gives her a pretty challenging playset made for you, as most of the things they have there don't have screens. Elegg also gets a completely different menu because she says the food sounds too tame and is missing its spark. Well, Aid grabs a new menu tailor-made for Elegg's sparky tastes. All they did was change the names and draw Boom on one of the Omerice pictures. But it worked. Oh, and then Elegg installs Boom on Coco's umbrella. We don't see how she did it. She did do it, though. As the day goes, she finds an ultimate challenge for her, the Outpost Power Station, and after smelling the electric currents, I don't know how she does that, Elegg finds it's in desperate need of Boom installed on it. Maxwell is also at the station and decides to let Elegg try it for 30 minutes, while Maxwell fights back against the attacks. If Maxwell wins, Elegg is banned from installing Boom anywhere in the station. If Elegg wins, Maxwell has to play Boom front to back. Elegg gets through the first wall of security quickly, with Maxwell stepping in very early on. Mr. Commander is keeping track and it's getting down to the wire. Elegg is at 90% with 1 minute to go. Maxwell is telling her it's impossible, give up, etc. Dumbass negative ninny over here. But Elegg does not give a shit. Then at 0.1 seconds to spare, she got it in. Also, the security system still said 90%. How did she do it? Well, Elegg made the security system in the first place, so Maxwell lost before the battle even began. So, Maxwell has to play Boom, but she gets Mr. Commander to play with her in co-op. Then they literally play all night afterwards. Elegg then says she's satisfied with today while Mr. Commander is tired as hell. I mean, they just pulled an all-nighter. She got all she wanted out of it and is ready to go back to work. She thanks Mr. Commander for an awesome timeout and heads back. Yeah, just like that, she just needed a day off, and she's ready to go again. Oh man, I love Elegg a lot, you guys. That gusto and confidence is really fun, and she's a really good sport about stuff. There's a reason she shot up so high for me. The best part is, I didn't even need to talk about her fat tits, huge ass, and thighs made for cuddling. I don't need to. She'd be a good character without those. Look, I'm not saying she shouldn't have them, but they definitely add to the experience. Well, unfortunately for Elegg, there's a few other Nikkes exuding that much confidence. Some much more than her. Now, after all these women, you'd think that from my previous review that Scarlet has been dethroned as number 1. Well, that's not the case. Scarlet is still number 1 for me, and although 2 and 3 got replaced, she's more so solidified her position, especially with her past self Spawn story here. This story takes place far in the past, before the arc even existed. Scarlet is talking to the Goddess Squad leader Lilyweiss, and is upset about her predicament. She promised she'd join the Goddess Squad if Lilyweiss bested her. And she did. Now Scarlet says she was unprepared and challenges her again. Does she have it in her to win? No. Lilyweiss uppercuts her into the ceiling, freaking out the legendary commander. So now she reluctantly joins the Goddess Squad after repairs. However, Scarlet wants to see her pecking order with the group. Her confidence is tested against the rest of the Goddess Squad, but Lilyweiss said whomever she challenges, they decide the challenge, not Scarlet. So first up is Rapunzel, who asks Scarlet to do a praying contest. Scarlet says the only cringe thing in her entire life, that being she's not religious, but Rapunzel says she can meditate instead. After 10 hours, Scarlet fell asleep and Rapunzel was still praying, so Scarlet lost. Next is a weapon reconstruction test from Snow White. Scarlet says that the contest isn't fair for Snow White because Scarlet has a blade, handle, and screws, whereas Snow White has a full-blown assault rifle. Well, Snow White makes her eat dust as she assembles her rifle very quickly. Scarlet loses again. Now it's Red Hood's turn, and this is my favorite part. Scarlet was told to play hide-and-seek with her, but even if Scarlet sees Red Hood, she still has to tag her to win within 10 minutes. Red Hood runs away as Scarlet counts for a minute, and then finds her immediately. One small thing though, Red Hood is shooting at Scarlet!
Anyway, I started blasting, bang!
So even if Scarlet tries to get close, it's becoming clear she's having a hard time. When a minute remains, Scarlet says enough and starts chopping Red Hood's bullets in half. They both start having fun and the minute runs out. But Scarlet asks if she and Red Hood can continue practicing this, which they do. This part is really awesome. Now for the last member, Dorothy. Dorothy says she doesn't care and has no challenge. But because she said that, Scarlet thinks she won. This angers Dorothy. So she tells Scarlet to decide the next challenge, and Scarlet says to arm wrestle. So the two arm wrestle, and it's quite close. Everyone comes in to see the match. Red Hood then makes a very inappropriate joke, and Dorothy loses concentration, which makes Scarlet win. A very angry Dorothy leaves while glaring at Red Hood, with Scarlet pursuing Dorothy. Scarlet says Dorothy is strong enough for a sword and wants to teach her how to use one, but Dorothy thinks that's for barbarians, and she's elegant. The two argue for a bit afterwards. It turns out that even though Scarlet wanted those challenges, Lilyweiss in secret talked to the rest of the Goddess Squad about what they thought of Scarlet. Rapunzel said her determination is incredible. Snow White was impressed that Scarlet was able to see and tell how Snow White put her gun together. Red Hood thought she was badass for cutting her bullets in half, and Dorothy was amazed that Scarlet was just as strong as her. Scarlet is on the battlefield and thinks she has to fight alone when the rest of the squad shows up, and she realizes she has new comrades and isn't alone anymore. I love this story. Scarlet being super competitive and trying to see where she stands in the pecking order is funny, only for it to glorify her strengths and impress the Goddess Squad, even though it was very arrogant. That's the best thing about Scarlet to me. She wasn't built to be on this squad, yet she, as a mass-produced Nikke, rose above the rest and became a member of the Goddess Squad. It does make me wonder what happened to her that made her more laid back by the time Overzone happens, but it's cool to see this personality still persist despite her being a bit less competitive than she was in the past. Her being a sore loser is still prominent with the Last Kingdom event, but even then she had very impressive feats there. So there's 8 stories from Nikke I liked. Like I said earlier, this is definitely something that could easily be milked in the future, so I can't wait to try and make more. It's not like I'm made of time. After all, I am busy making my action platformer Scouter, which you can support me on Patreon for, or you can help by buying my first game, Necrolepsy, on Steam. Links to both in the description. As well, if you haven't seen my last Nikke video, I did a review of it, and I'll also link it there and at the end card. Let me know if you have any favorite stories too. I'll be sure to check them out and see if I can read them myself. I don't think I'm going to stop playing Nikke anytime soon. They're doing a great job running the game, so expect more content to come from it.
Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it!